welcome to Deep South Homestead once again. We are going to be doing a live stream this away because of the freaky weather once again. We got severe weather coming in and all, and we're probably not going to be able to live stream.
So it means our Saturday night lives 90% of the time are not going to be live. If they're not live, they will be a premiere. And a premiere is simply we set up like this and do a video, and then I put it up as a premiere, which means you have a live stream, a live chat, so you can talk to each other. And if the weather permits, we can jump in the chat and talk. But we, if it's bad weather, we can't do it.
Yeah.
But there's no way we can live stream with the severe weather coming in. So we hope you enjoy the premiere tonight.
Yeah, and guys, this is the first day of 2022. And yes, we did make it to another year. And we've got, just like last year, we've got a lot of plans for this year. I mean, there's lots of things on our agenda, although they will take a massive turn this year. We're going to be changing lots of things from the way we did last year because now we have an LCE, a life-changing event that has taken place with us. I have messed my knee up, and that has vastly restricted what I'm able to do and what I'm not able to do.
Now, guys, he still does a lot of stuff.
Yes.
He figures out a way to do stuff. Now, yesterday, our onions from Dixondale came in, and with the weather moving in, he wanted them in the ground before the rain comes. And I said, okay, I'll come help you in a few minutes. And he said, all right. And when I walked out, he's laid on the ground, looks like a slinky snake all over, and he's using his elbow, and he's pulling himself down the aisle, putting those in because he couldn't sit down on his legs.
I couldn't get on my knees. I can't stand and bend over. I can't get on my knees. And getting down on the ground was just a challenge. I just basically had to fall, and I laid there and I was like, okay, now what am I going to do? I said, okay. Like, you guys in the service, it's crawled like under the alligator crawled under the wires on your back and on your stomach and all this stuff through the mud and the dirt and everything. You know what I'm talking about. That's what I felt like. I was laying there crawling along and dirt getting all in my pockets and stuff like that. And, looking for fire ants, make sure they didn't get on me, and having to stay propped up on my left elbow while I'm sticking onions in with my right hand. And I thought to myself, life has got to change. There's something I said, man, this is difficult, and then that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was when I got to the end of the row, I had to stand up, and I'm sitting here going like, okay, how am I going to do this? Because I can't use my right leg to stand back up with. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I ended up figuring out how to take the cane and putting it under my arm and learning how to stand up.
And we're going to get him a garden seat for the high tunnels and things like that. And it might work out in a garden. Like we have a trellis in our front garden. I think it'll run on that ground cover and work really well. And that way he can pick things with a garden seat. So that's my next project this week, to look into that and see if we can get one. With supply chains, this has gotten to be a difficult thing. I mean, you say, hey, look, I'm going to go buy, but sometimes we found in the past year when we go looking, you look everywhere and you might finally find what you're looking for, and then you wait for it to come. And I just think it's going to get worse this year in 2022 as far as finding all these objects that you want for your homestead. And we found that out last year. We've had our share of waiting. We know ahead of time what we want. So we've been lucky in ordering, and by the time we need it, it's usually here. Most people wait till they need it, and then they have to wait on it.
Yeah, one of our biggest, I guess you might say one of our biggest learning experiences this past year has been our barn. We knew we were going to have to wait, and we went ahead and got on a waiting list back in, I think it was the 1st of October. And they told us, the first week in December, we're going to try to have that in for you. Well, actually, they told us the end of November to start with. And Well, the end of November came right after Thanksgiving. We called and they said, well, the guys want off for Thanksgiving holidays, want a week off for that. And I'm like, they said, we'll get to it the first week in December. I was like, okay. So the first week in December come and went. I didn't see anybody. So I gave them another week and I called and I said, look, what's up? And they said, well, because of the color you chose, there's a supply shortage of metal. That thing's still sitting out on a ship out there, that roll of coil stock, and we can't get it. I'm like, well, why didn't you call and tell me this? I said, we'll change, and I changed to another color. And they said, oh, we have that. I'm like, I'm sitting here, y'all have to know me. I mean, I'm one of these kind,
impatient.
I was a logger for 15 years, owned our own company for 15 years. Then I was in the construction company for 26 years. I owned that company. And then 2 other companies that dealt with wood and construction and stuff like that. And when I call and somebody tells me something, I'm used to it's got to happen then because
Or we were expecting a phone call.
Or give me a phone call.
We have learned from multiple companies this past
year.
Nobody calls you back.
No.
They may say, we're going to do this day, and then you don't hear from them.
Yeah, you wait that day and you go like, okay, and then you call and say, well, we had a change. I said, why didn't you pick the phone up and call me?
I mean, I don't know how many companies has done us that way this year. We have waited more on stuff because of lack of, I don't know, what do you call it, courtesy?
Well, I think there's just no ability of anybody has any skills anymore about knowing because they're like, they don't care. And
they know on their end they can't get to it.
Right.
And that's all they're worried about. And to me, that's lack of customer courtesy.
Yeah. No customer service at all.
I dealt with it with HughesNet. We've dealt with it with other things. I mean, all year long. It's been one company after another.
Yeah.
We have to call. If you, the customer, do not call, you have no clue what's going on.
Especially when we order stuff and are shipping it. They say, okay, the 18-wheeler is going to be at your place on such and such a day. The driver will call you 24 hours in advance, and then he'll call you in
30 minutes in advance.
30 minutes in advance, he'll call you and let you know he's almost there. That day comes and goes, and we call, and they go, well, we wasn't able to get it out on the truck this day, and this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, why didn't you call me?
Or they say the truck driver's going to call you, and we hear somebody blowing the horn at the gate. And we go up there, and there's an 18-wheeler sitting at and we said, look, we've not gotten a phone call. He says, oh, well, we don't have to give you a phone call. I can just drop it at the gate. And this was a big,
these are huge, bundlesome items that I have to have the forks on the tractor to move, And I'm like, oh, my word. But, guys, this has been an all-year thing. And our barn, believe it or not, when this comes up, it's still not up. The barn is stacked up on a hillside over yonder. Just sitting there. The trusses are beginning to get rust on them, and I done called the company about that, and they said, oh, we'll repaint them. Don't worry about it. And I'm saying, yeah, you're going to repaint them. I can tell you that.
But we're hoping next week. But now this weather's moving in.
Yeah, we got weather moving in again. They said that originally it was supposed to be Friday and Saturday was supposed to be the rain. Now they've moved it to Saturday and Sunday, and I looked a while ago, and they said, well, it'd be Sunday and Monday. And these guys had promised me for sure they're going to be here Monday. And Monday's supposed to be like 20-something degrees, the wind blowing like 20-something miles an hour. And I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to sit in my cabin with a fire going, and they're going to freeze their butts off out there because you could have come when it was warm, Yeah.
They'd rather
celebrate and these wicked holidays and everything than they had to come on and get a job done, And I'm one of these kind of people. I can be your best friend, or you can ask Wanda. I can be very difficult, and my thing is, don't tell me you're going to be there
and
if you don't plan on coming. Don't do it. Just tell me, say I'm not coming,
and then give us a date you might be there. That's been our biggest holdup. Now, during 2020, 2021, we're in 2022.
Yeah, we're 2022 now.
Well,
yeah. Ooh.
At the beginning of 2021, we were working on the she shed. I love, love, love my cannon kitchen, but it's going to serve several purposes.
Oh, yeah.
If we have family over, I can take all the vehicles out from under there, and because it serves as a car shed too.
Yeah.
I can take them out. We can set up chairs. we can cook outside. We have the cabinet for serving purposes and things like that.
Set a table up if we need to eat.
I mean, it's amazing. I did a canning kitchen, a canning class last year, and we had a whole bunch of people brought their lawn chairs and sat under there, and it was just fun. So it's that purpose. Also, we were talking about, what ifs, and I told Danny, as long as I have gas, I can cook out there in my canning kitchen.
Yeah, if the grid goes down for some reason.
We're not worried, it'll run out eventually.
The gas will eventually run out.
But we also have our, what do you call them, fire rocket stoves.
Yeah, we have rocket stoves. We have multiple ways to
cowboy,
cook.
What you call it, the wheel, the cowboy kitchen.
Yeah, we have a cowboy kitchen wheel. Yeah.
So I'm not worried about cooking, I don't think, and we wouldn't be cooking massive. I got a lot of stuff in jars that can just be opened up and heated.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be an hour-long cooking thing. It can just be heated.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about that. A lot is going to change this year since we've had the LCE with my knee. It's going to be the way that we're going to be preparing our food. Wanda and I have come to the realization as we get older that things have got to change now.
And we started that with the high tunnels.
That was
a biggie with the age-related thing, was the high tunnels.
Yes, and we realized with the high tunnels that we could raise so much more food with a high tunnel than we could out in a field, with a lot more disease resistance, a lot more less bug pressure and stuff to this nature. You just get a lot better quality food than you do growing outside in the elements.
Yeah, and on mine, I experimented a lot this past year just to see what we could and couldn't raise. I didn't want to do just tomatoes and lettuce and peppers. So I did all kinds of stuff. And January 1st, I got a cotton plant blooming.
And tomatoes blooming.
And English peas blooming.
Yeah.
And I've got
potatoes coming up.
I've got eggplant blooming.
Yep, we got eggplant.
The red ripper peas are blooming.
Red rippers are blooming. We got rutabagas. I mean, we just harvested the turmeric. That blew me away.
Yeah.
That turmeric, we had so much turmeric. I told her, I said, this is too much. I said, we can freeze dry a lot of it and turn it into powder. I said, but
we just didn't need that much.
Don't need that much. I said, look, just put it up on the Etsy store and bless somebody else, Within, 3 hours? She sold every bit of it in 3 hours. I was like, what?
I still have people contact me every day wanting it. And, I can only grow so much. So I replanted the ginger. And I have some ginger in the back that Danny showed me. I forgot at the cabin that I haven't even dug up yet.
It hadn't been dug yet.
But it's still green. And I don't want to dig that up yet. But, ginger and turmeric is something that every household needs on their place if you can grow it, even if you grow it in a container.
Yeah.
Because it is, with the things that are going on, turmeric is something I think everybody could take, either add it to your food or put it in a drink or something, capsule it. There's different ways, and it helps with some of the underlying conditions of things that people are facing.
Yeah. And two, the way we're processing our food now is going to be changing.
We're still going to be canning.
We're still
going to be eating a lot fresh, but we're going to be rotating out crops.
Yes.
But the freeze drying, we are enjoying the freeze dry, guys.
I know, and the thing about it is, it's not for everybody. Okay.
No.
And if you're one of them kind of people that's going to say, well, I can't afford one, you ought not do that, then you need to just find something else to do is the way I look at it. But the thing about it is, Wanda brought me some English peas to try the other day, and I'm going to tell you what, I thought they was fresh. I was like, I didn't know we had fresh English peas. And she's like, no, these are not fresh. And she did a video over on Crazy Days. You want to see the whole video about those English peas and other things that she had done. They were just like they had just been picked. And I told her, I looked at her, I told her, I said, that's it. Game over. No more canning.
Freeze dry.
Because we can about 65 plus pints of English peas every year, because that's about what it takes for us to run a year on English peas. And I told her, I said, there ain't gonna be no more of that. I said, them things come out of jars are kind of mushy and everything. I said, I eat them, but they're still good to me. But this is where it's at.
Tastes just like fresh. Like I just picked him. And I asked him, I said, hey, look, you think this come out of my greenhouse? And he had to think for a minute.
I had to think. I was like, I didn't think there was any of them peas ready to pick yet. But no, these were some. And go watch the video. I mean, I don't want to just give it all away, but
it's on Crazy Days.
It's on Crazy Days, yeah.
Well, it will be this week. I hadn't put it up yet, but it will be. Y'all, the carrots. I did carrots. I only did a few carrots, and I freeze dried those fresh. And I've already done a video here on Deep South, I think, showing it, or maybe it was Crazy Days. I don't remember. But anyway, I made his carrot salad, and he said it's as close to fresh. He could tell it wasn't fresh, but yet it was close.
It's closest I've ever come. Now, we've got lots of carrots canned in jars. I told her, I said, look, we ain't canning no more carrots. I said, we're going
to freeze dry.
Well, we're going to eat fresh as long as we can. Yes. But once the carrots start getting the little tiny hairs on them, then they got to come out. The little hair roots, they got to come out because then they'll get peppy and won't have the sweet taste that they normally have. And if we go to pull them out, then, hey, we're just going to both jump in there, and the freeze dryer is going to be running 24 hours a day. We're going to start chopping these things up, grinding them, shredding them, whatever it is she wants done, putting them on them trays, freeze. We get this a lot, too. Freeze dryers are so expensive to run. That is a myth, okay? Wanda and I have deep freezes running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. What we do is anytime we get anything extra like that comes in, we go ahead and process it, put it on trays, put it in the deep freeze because the freezer's already running. It's not costing us any more money. And we go ahead and freeze dry. What do you got, 5 trays in that thing? 4 or 5?
You just freeze it. In the freezer.
In the freezer, but how many trays do you have to make a full run?
It takes 4 trays for a run, and I have 2 sets of trays.
Yes.
And then Harvest Right just sent me the lids, which will serve as trays. So that gives me 4 more.
Yeah, so we can just keep stacking this stuff up in the freezer, and that cuts out a lot of the freeze drying process because that thing has to run a long time to freeze this stuff. And if it's already frozen in the deep freeze and we put it in there, then all it's got to do is just
starting the
process of the drying process, taking the moisture out of it. And that cuts down. I mean, we do about 12 hours on a load now? 12 to 14?
I'm doing about close to 24 now. I would say it would be.
With our humidity, you've decided that.
I've decided with our humidity, I need to go close. It may not be 24 hours, but it's close. I would say anywhere from 18 up to 24 on a load where if I put it in fresh and I did not freeze it, it would take me 36 hours or longer.
Or longer in our humidity to do this.
I'm learning within 24 hours, I put it in and take it out within 24 hours.
Yeah, and our electric bill has only gone up I think it was like $8. I think we figured about $8 is what our electric bill went up. And that's for food that will be good if processed and packaged correctly for 20 years. I mean, maybe. There's
no scientific home studies that people have done it in their homes that it's lasted that long. And that's what I try to tell people. It's supposed to last 20 years. But everybody's home is different.
Yes.
Their humidity is different. If you put your food in a freeze dryer and leave it for, say, 20 hours and you take it out and you package it and you didn't test it to see if there was a cold spot in it somewhere, it could run on you.
Yes.
Well, it's not going to last 20 years because you didn't do it right. And so there's so many variables. Here, mine was humidity.
Yeah.
I didn't get a few of my berries done enough. I took them out after about 12, 14 hours, and then within a couple of days, I noticed the bags were soft because I always check things. And I'm like, so what happened to my berries? And when I got to looking, there was a place that said, check them for coldness. If they feel cold, they're not done.
They're not done.
So I learned my berries have to go at least 24 hours, maybe longer. Maybe blueberries need to go at least 36 or more.
Blueberries are the worst.
And but most things within 24 hours, and then you have to worry about where you process it, because if it's damp, like here, I was bringing my food from the she shed into the house to process, and so that's what about I don't know how many feet that is.
That's
I'm
about
having to walk
40 foot, 30 or 40 feet. Yeah.
And I'm going out into the weather. And when it was damp and humid, I was going from the she shed into the house, and the humidity was attacking my food before I got in the house.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. And it was already making a popping sound and stuff, which meant it was absorbing water.
It's absorbing humidity out of the air back into the food, because that food is sucked down so dry that any moisture, it'll automatically just start sucking it up. So we've learned now that she has to do it right where it's at, in the she shed.
Yeah, I have a place now set aside. And so food is going to be, processing is going to be a touch different. I'm still going to be canning. I love my canning because it's easy.
Yeah.
And it is, but the things that we like fresh, like carrots and English peas, I will be doing some of those fresh. Some of our fruits, we like those fresh, freeze dried.
Yes.
But now we're going to be canning a lot, and I'm going to still be canning in my canning kitchen. And
there'll be things like green beans and stuff to this nature with what we'll be canning.
And then we're going to change our gardening. You said that we're going to start using trellises more and things that go up on trellises.
Yeah, because the Cherokee yellow axe beans, to give you an example, has become one of our favorites, because not only the texture, the taste, I mean, they're just so prolific. When they make, and they make lots. And they're easy to pick because they're bright yellow. They're not green where you got to hunt them all over the plants and stuff like this. But now with an LCE with my knee, we've come to the conclusion now we're going to have to start growing pole ones up on a trellis, because I can walk along and I can stand. It doesn't bother me to stand. I can stand and pick, or I can sit in a chair and pick, or whatever along. I just can't get down on the ground to pick the bush beans anymore. So we're going to be changing the strategies that we use as far as gardening is concerned. A lot of the fields will go to things like planting corn, something that all I basically have to do is plow it and fertilize it. And I've got the fertilize system set up now for the Cub tractor, so I don't even have to tote fertilize anymore to do any of that.
The sweet potatoes.
The sweet potatoes and the regular potato. Well, the regular potatoes, we're going to try to rotate them in high tunnels and grow them fresh as much as possible. And we'll grow some outside. But we're going to try to keep that on a rotation thing, because we've about got that figured out.
We have been harvesting potatoes that grew up from just volunteer potatoes left in the field. I mean, last week and this week, we've had fresh potatoes.
Yes.
In the end of December, 1st of January, that's amazing, because we are just supposed to be planting in about 2 weeks.
About 2 to 3 weeks, we should be just planting, and we are actually harvesting. And then yesterday, we actually planted a whole row of fingerling potatoes.
Yes.
And, of course, they're not going to be up for
a couple of 3 weeks.
Probably another week or so they'll be coming out of the ground. And just prior to that, a week prior to that, I just planted a whole section of my high tunnel in potatoes. Wanda already has hers up in her high tunnel about, 2 feet high or taller?
They're going crazy.
They're going crazy. So we're learning how to rotationally grow these potatoes, and we'll do it all the way up till probably somewhere around May.
Well, I also have some in the GreenStalk. And
I forgot about the GreenStalk.
I harvested one tray from the GreenStalk last month. And so I've got about 4 trays now to harvest. And so we'll go out there. We're going to eat what we harvested out of the garden. And then I'll go harvest the GreenStalk and see what we get out of it. And if I can figure that GreenStalk thing out, I can almost go year-round. Yeah. I don't know how they'll do in the hottest part of the summer. I was going to
say, the heat of the summer, where we live at, they're not going to do too good. That's the reason I said we'll probably cut it off about May, and we'll pick it back up around September. Yeah. But during that time, our potatoes will hold those few months without any problems. And if we continue with our growth this summer here at Deep South Homestead, we've got several projects. One is we've got a walk-in cooler that we have now that hasn't been put together, and I'm trying to get a place, once we get the barn done, I'm trying to get a place over here at this shop done where we can get a slab poured and hopefully get this walk-in cooler put together and get it set up on there. And that will give us a place to store things for a few months in the heat of the summer that need to be kept cool, like our sweet potatoes. Well, sweet potatoes need to be cured in the dry, but you need to store them in a cool storage. And then our Irish potatoes, our fingerling potatoes and all that kind of stuff, the ones that we want to try to keep through the summer, it's going to buy us a little bit of time as long as we have electricity. You know, if we don't have any electricity, the thing's useless. But I mean, but while we have it, we're going to use it.
Yeah, and we also did the back of the she shed. That's where we sit and talk and just chill.
Yeah,
that's been our favorite place to sit and take a snack break. I thought it would be the pier, and we do go down to the pier some.
We go some,
but we're actually enjoying the rocking chairs because we're getting old.
Yeah,
on the back of the she shed, and Danny and I just take our breaks out there, admire the pond. We can see the cabin.
Well, that's the whole thing. We can see the whole back of our property.
Yeah,
it's
like
Wanda said, we see the high tunnels, we see the cabin. We see the ponds. We see the new barn site. We see the animals. We see the back pastures.
High tunnels, everything.
Yeah, everything. The chickens. I mean, we can see all that stuff. The fruit trees. Everything is right in front of us. I mean, it's a prime location. It's pretty high up in the air, so we're actually overlooking a lot of stuff. That's one thing I like about it.
Yeah, because we are up in the air. We have a lot of hills. We also did the cellar. We made our cellar a drive-in cellar. And we mentioned that once before. We did not film that, but that's one project we've been working on because of our old age. We could not climb up and down those stairs anymore.
Oh, I would be in trouble now if I had to go up and down them steep steps. I mean, it wouldn't happen.
Well, I had gotten to where with my hip has issues, and I have problems with my back off and on, and I can't tote those heavy jars down a whole flight of stairs and then tote some back up because I was storing everything in the cellar and then putting it in the pantry. So it meant I take new stuff down, bring old stuff up. And so now we have a way to drive in, and it's easy to go in and out and do what we need to do. That was one of our big projects for 2021, and we're not through with it.
We're not finished with it yet. We'll still got some more to go on it. But
that's not a project that we'll be actually showing.
We won't be videoing that one.
In this day and time, it's got to where a lot of things just won't be seen anymore. Just know that we are working on things other than what we show sometimes.
Yeah, we have a lot more projects going on than what we show. And, of course, the barn's going to be a big one this year.
Finishing the cabin,
finishing the barn, because Mickey from hillsmill.com. I have to make sure I get that right, Mickey. From Tennessee. He's just southwest of Nashville, Tennessee. Is going to be providing as much of our lumber for the barn as we can because we're interested in a particular look. And there's like 3 or 4 different barn designs, and ours is going to be a monitor design. And we want it to look as much like an old-fashioned barn as possible. That's our desire, and be functional. We want it to be functional.
And Danny's been just studying on barns for 2 years or better.
Yeah.
He didn't just choose a barn.
No.
He wanted a barn that looked like an old-fashioned barn, and we will have trusses, metal trusses.
We wanted to go with the metal trusses because guys, these little flimsy wooden trusses they put up, I just don't trust them.
Danny knows wood, and he knows that these things, they'd probably last, but we're in a hurricane zone, and we want to do everything as stout as possible, and it will be braced and probably double braced, and Danny.
Oh yeah,
everything. But it will have a loft in it. It will be functional. It will have places for the cows. We hope to end up with a rabbit place,
we're gonna
chicken place, a turkey place.
Yeah,
all these are going to be in the mix. We don't have the rabbits and the turkeys right now, but we don't want them until we're ready for them. And
that's the whole thing. Since I've messed my knee up, I told Wanda, I said, look, we need something that is smaller for us to handle. Something, I'm going to keep my cows. I'm not getting rid of cows or anything like that. But I told her, I said, rabbits, with the fertilizer shortage we got coming in the world today, I said rabbits give a great amount of fertilizer, and it's not a hot fertilizer. It's very good. We don't have to worry about grazon and all this kind of stuff. And with the rabbits and everything, with the fertilizer shortage and everything that's coming, We figure that rabbits might be one of our best ways to go because the rabbit manure is a cold fertilizer. We don't have to worry about it burning plants and anything like that. And then it promotes earthworms and stuff like this. And we were learning that Dry Gulch gave us a turkey this past year that they raised on their homestead there, one of the white ones. And that has been the best bird I think I've ever ate. You know?
I know. And so it wouldn't take many turkeys. And then we'd have our chickens, we would have rabbits, we always have our beef. We're fixing to have our pigs.
Yeah, the pigs will be very soon, we hope.
Then we have our fish. We could eat fish every day.
Every day if we wanted to.
And the fish ponds are fertilized too. So we have that for fertilize. We're not worried about how we're going to have fertilize in the future. And our cow manure, actually, since we've gotten the grazon out of everything, we could start this year using our cow fertilizer.
We could start using it.
The chicken fertilizer could be composted, and once we get our chickens rearranged and stuff, all that can be cleared out and composted and used. So we're not worried about a fertilizer shortage in 2022.
No, 2022 fertilizer doesn't bother me that bad. The thing about it, we can't use the fertilizer from our old barn over here because the grazon is still up underneath it in there. So that's a moot point. That will not happen. But with the new barn going in, we have hay now that has not been sprayed. We've been feeding for quite some time. And we have, 40 or 50 rolls of it left out here. So,
and we have, when he starts in March or April, we will get the clover hay.
We get the first shot at the clover hay.
And our cows love it.
They love it. It's high in protein. It's just a great hay to have. Other people don't want it.
And our whole property is coming up in clover right now. And y'all, if y'all never seen a red clover or white clover, either one,
Whichever one. We're not sure which one it is yet.
The fields are beautiful, whether it's a full white or full red. Either way, it's going to be gorgeous.
Plus, the clover puts the nitrogen back into the soil for our fields, and we don't have to worry about adding additional nitrogen in. Our biggest concern is going to be lime. I mean, that's the one thing.
And the clover also has many health benefits, so check it out.
Yeah.
Clover's awesome as a cover crop.
Yeah, so there's lots of things we're learning here at Deep South Homestead, and that's one thing we're going to be doing on our channel this year. We're not going to be chasing, I'm going to use the word chasing. We're not going to be chasing world events like we usually do or anything like that. Now, we may make mention of them or something like that, but guys, there's no sense in us sitting here, and I'm going to cover this on Porch Time this week. There's no sense in us sitting here, ranting about something that's already happened because
it's already
happened. The biggest thing is now let's start trying to figure out what we're going to do.
So Porch Time's going to be more informational, what you need to be doing, not whatever is going on or what might be going to happen and things.
Yeah.
It's going to take a different twist. It'll still be Porch Time. You know, Danny.
Oh, yeah.
Still going to be Porch Time. We had a lot of people say, I'm going to miss Porch Time. Well, you're not going to miss it.
You're not going to miss it.
It just might not be exactly what you want. There's a lot of news people out there. Go watch them. They'll tell you all you want to know.
Yeah.
Danny will be twisting it toward survival.
Yeah, we're going to try to twist this thing around here and try to figure out how we can get through this thing.
And I like to be able to show our whole homestead in different aspects. Yeah. And so far, we've been a lot of teaching, and each video is geared toward one thing. You might see a lot of mini clips put together this year because while we're working on the barn, I might throw up the barn. But if there's something else that needs to go up with that day, I might add it to it. It might be a mixture until we can get back on a schedule in the next few weeks. It may be just hodgepodge, whatever's going on at the time. And it'll still be Deep South. It'll still be what we're doing. But y'all just stick with us till we can get back on a regular schedule because, number one, Wanda got a new computer. Wanda got a new phone. And she's learning all this stuff all over again. New
technology all over again.
Every time you get something new, it's similar, but it's different.
Yeah.
And editing is the same thing. I'm still using my same editing program, but they upgraded. And I don't know what the heck they do when they upgrade, but they make it so simple that any dummy ought to be able to do it. but yet they make it where anybody that's used to having the bells and whistles, you got to go hunt every bell and whistle on there, and it takes you 3 times longer. And I'm frustrated by the time I finally find it.
Mm-hmm.
And so editing takes me twice as long as it ever did until I figure out where they put everything. So
just in time for them to change it again.
Yep. Well, I did notice 11's come out, and I've been in 10's what I'm using right now.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness.
So lots of things this year, guys. I mean, you get to see us doing a lot of other things. Now, we're not going to be one of these kind of YouTube channels that spends the first 15, 20 minutes of our YouTube channel walking around feeding animals. You know what I mean? We may show you clips of us feeding animals occasionally.
Or something they're doing.
Or something they're doing that's funny, like the pig video the other day with them, mud wrestling like they were, having fun. I mean, to me, that was
won't
just...
be every day.
No.
That's once every now and then. And I want to show more nature. That's part of my crazy days, and I've tried to incorporate it into Deep South somewhat, showing you what the sky looks like, letting you hear the birds. If we're at the pond, letting you hear the crickets and the frogs and stuff. And when we're at the cabin, letting you know how the owls are and things like that. It's a part of what we do, and that's what we want to start incorporating more, is a little bit of, like, even the cabin. We want to start incorporating that into videos, a little bit more of what we do over there, and we want to do a little more over there. It's just some of these projects have got to go away. Danny did do the stone. He got them all laid on the hearth. He just doesn't have the grout.
Got to do the grout, yeah.
And then we've got the whole wall to do. So, for those of you who've been waiting to see what the stone looks like, I'm waiting too.
Yeah, we've got so many things. And messing my knee up has been throw the monkey wrench in everything. And it's going to be taking a lot longer now to do anything than what it used to. And that's totally frustrating to me. But thank the Lord, I got the hearth laid, because that's the part I had to do on my knees. Now, we still have to come back and grout it, but I can sit in a chair, I believe, and do a lot of the grouting. I told Wanda, I said, you're going to have to help me with this now, I mean, to get it done. But we're going to get there with it. It's one of those things.
The other thing with the cabin was we haven't finished the bedroom, but that's an easy fix for us.
Yeah.
Getting boards on the wall. He started painting the cabin, the logs, and it is looking amazing. But the 2 ends that are so high in the air, there's no way he can get to. So he's got to have help.
Yeah.
And we're going to get that done this year, hopefully.
Hopefully we
get them all the logs painted. The color is awesome. And then we've got the little garden shed.
Yep.
Everybody said it was a sore thumb, and I can sit and see it, and it is a sore thumb. But it's going to be painted the same color as the logs. And when it is, it will match and it'll fit in, and you guys will see the prettiness of the design that Danny's got in his head somewhere in there of what he wants going on.
Yeah, it's just I'm trying to lay this thing out to where, I mean, I used to build these big fine homes and stuff like this. I mean, and I did architectural drawings and things, and I have a photographic type memory. I can actually visualize just about anything and see the beginning of it. I can see the end of it, what it's going to look like when it's finished. And it's just, as we get older, things take longer. And we just pray that we are going to be able to finish most of them before something massive happens. But if not, then the thing about it is I've bought up so much stuff and have it stored to finish it with, that if something happens and we get locked down again or whatever happens, we can continue going here. We don't have to stop, because I've pre-planned pretty much this whole year has been pre-planned, and I have just about everything here at our place, with the exception of a few things, to make this whole next year work, if we can, if we can.
And I know lots of you are wanting to know with planting and stuff like that. And our goal on our podcast is to have some planting podcast.
Yeah.
Danny's going to start doing some podcasts that will tell you from beginning to end on certain things, and eventually, by the time the year's over, maybe you'll cover just about everything we plant anyway.
I'm hoping so. I mean, the podcast is one of those things. It's just for us right now, it's just one of the things we do just to be able to share and help people. We don't make anything off of it or anything, and it's growing rapidly.
Yeah.
We've got more downloads right now than I ever dreamed we would have. And with that being said, I told Wanda, I said, look, if there's that many people downloading these podcasts, let's help these people because everything's going to collapse here before long. I said, let's help these people with gardening. Let's see if we can't talk a little bit about gardening on there because, hey, let's just be honest. This podcast is about a simpler time in life. And the fact of the matter is, people used to garden. Everybody used to garden. It didn't matter who you were. If you were a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. You had a garden. You had a farm. You had a barn.
You didn't do all the work, you at least had a wife and kids that helped with it.
Yeah.
You did what you could do. If the guy was at work most of the time, the wife and kids took care of everything.
Took care of most of it.
The average person back in the day, they just had to do their own work.
Yeah.
The kids at a young age, 4 years old, were doing the work of most 18 and 20-year-olds now wouldn't even do what a 4-year-old did back then. And it's just crazy. It
really is. I mean, I've been reading a lot of literature, as long as my eyes will let me, of the 17 and 1800s, what people did to survive during massive cold spells or, with no electricity. How did they survive? How was a place set up? Just what did they do? What was their daily chores? And I'm going to tell you what, when a child got old enough to get out of the house and could actually start walking and doing stuff, he was already given a job. And it might be something as simple as feeding chickens or hauling water or whatever, but they learned responsibility right off the bat. I mean, Wanda and I was sitting here talking about this the other day. When I was 12 years old, I would stand beside a road, and a pickup truck would come by and pick me up and get in the back of it, and they took me to a field and dropped me off, and I picked cucumbers till late that afternoon, all day long out in the hot field, and I didn't complain. It was just what you did. And we, on the weekends, when I was 12 and 13 years old during hunting season, I would take a shotgun, me and a bunch of other boys, and we'd head off into the woods. We'd go squirrel hunting. We'd go rabbit hunting. We'd go deer hunting. Turkey, whatever was going on, quail. I would not give a 12-year-old a shotgun today with a group of boys because I would tell myself, these nuts would shoot themselves or something. They'd shoot each other. There's just no responsibility whatsoever in kids anymore. I have friends that I graduated school with that had 10 and 12-year-old boys that was running large equipment on their jobs during the summertime. Mm-hmm. Instead of having to hire men to do it, most of these guys had their own kids, and they were running dozers and road graders and front-end loaders and all this kind of stuff at 10 and 12 years old, as good as grown men were doing,
But, child labor. Nobody wants you to use child labor anymore.
Yeah.
They got to be at least 16, 17, 18.
Got to be 18 now to be
run something like that. You have to have a license.
Because of insurances, insurances has destroyed everything.
And you had kids that helped do all kinds of stuff. Like if you needed something done in the yard, hey, go rake the yard. Hey, clean up. We had my kids come, and you had Jesse cutting limbs and cleaning off the roofs and stuff like that. That was a normal thing for most kids. They just knew that was their job. They got up, they got it done.
Yep.
When you were growing up, if you couldn't go play until you got the garden done.
Oh, that was a big issue with me. My dad planted about a 2-acre garden every year. My dad had to work. He was a logger. And when I was little, when I say little, I'm talking about 12 and under, you could not play. No matter how many kids there was coming around to play, you could not play until the garden had been weeded or it had been hoed. And Lord, give a child a hoe in a garden, he'd chop every plant down. But I knew
they pick all the flowers now.
They pull all the blooms off of everything. I'm sitting here like my daddy would have beat me within an inch of my life if I'd have chopped a plant down with a hoe.
Oh yeah. And now kids don't understand when they walk in a yard what a flower is, that it produces food. They just pick it.
They pick it, or like garlics and onions and stuff like that. They walk along, they just kick them. They don't even know what they are.
They step all over them and things. And that's one of the biggest things now. People do not teach their kids that plants are valuable.
Yes.
And to me, that's one of the biggest things. Even my kids, I would have tore their behinds up if they'd have touched a plant that I didn't want them to touch, because I was having trouble struggling with plants sometimes.
Yeah, boy, my daddy would have whooped me within an inch of my life. I mean, he I'm telling you, when my daddy whipped you, you got whipped. I mean, it wasn't none of this, and it wasn't a beating. There's a difference between a beating and a whipping.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not even gonna go into that, but the thing about it is we knew, because my dad was very strict and very stern, but yet he was a very loving man. I mean, he would teach you.
And you learned at a young age which plant to pull.
Yes.
Don't send don't send even a 10 and 12-year-old out into the garden and say, here, pull the weeds. 90% of them don't know what
they don't know what's a weed and what ain't.
I know a lot of y'all are teaching y'all's kids.
Yes.
And that is wonderful.
Thank the Lord.
But to actually take one off the street and say, hey, look, here's my garden. I'll pay you $5 to weed it. Don't walk off and leave them. You better
won't have nothing left.
You better be sitting there telling them plant. And what amazes me is you can say, okay, this is a cucumber plant. And you can show them the plant, and then you start saying everything around it needs to come out. And when you get to the next cucumber plant, leave the cucumber, but get that. You can look up and they're pulling cucumbers and everything else. They're not paying any attention that they just found a new cucumber.
Right.
I mean, that's the problem.
It's like, oh, it looks like a weed, you know?
Attention span.
Yeah. And like me, I'll use another for instance. When I was like 8 to 10 years old, Mom would take me to town with a push mower, and she would just let me out in a neighborhood. And I went from yard to yard mowing with a push mower, you know, in neighborhoods. And lots of those older ladies and stuff, or an older gentleman that couldn't get down like I am now, couldn't get down to the ground. They'd say, look, I've got a flower bed here, or I've got a small garden up against the house here. Could you take some of those weeds out of there for me? I'll pay you an extra 50 cents to do that or something, you know? And I'm like, yeah. And I knew what was a weed, and I knew what was a plant. And I would sit and weed their flower beds out for them and their plants and stuff like this. And believe it or not, I used to weed eat when I was that age, but we used scissors. Now, a lot of people would sit back and go, what? I'm like, yeah.
Used many as scissors.
We used to take scissors in our hands and go along the edges of the house and the sidewalks, and we'd clip everything. And I would take a square-pointed, now this is not a square-pointed shovel like you think. This is a shovel that's made for digging footings with. It's a particular type of shovel. I would take it and go along the sidewalks and chop right along the edge of the sidewalks and go back and scoop all that grass out, and it looked just like an edger had been down those sidewalks. I mean, they would pay me. I get paid 50 cents or $1 to do that, you know, which was, to me back then, that was a lot of money. And today, you give a kid a pair of scissors and tell them you want to go out and weed eat around a whole house, they'd look at you and go like, what? I ain't doing that, you know.
No. And if they don't have a blower.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know how to sweep anything.
They
got to have a blower.
Got to have a blower.
I just got a blower a couple of years ago. I was sweeping all these sidewalks, and we got a lot of sidewalks.
Yep.
And I was sweeping them off at least, some of them once every couple of weeks or so, according to what was going on. But I'm going to tell you what, I love my blower now.
Yeah.
It makes a difference in old age. Y'all get a blower. And I blow everything in the high tunnels out at least maybe once a month. I go in, and where we've dropped dead leaves and limbs and stuff, I'll blow that out. And it makes a difference sometimes in older age, just some of those simple things, because I'm having trouble vacuuming and mopping and things like that. That's getting on in my back. I'm having a lot of issues. So we're going to have to change a lot of stuff in 2022. Yep,
guys, 2022 is going to be hopefully you're going to get to see some different videos from Deep South Homestead and get to see some new projects, because I've anticipated the challenges that this year would bring, and I spent 2021 gathering material for 2022. So hopefully I've not missed the mark too far, and I'll have enough material here to actually complete the projects that we want to do without having to get on a waiting list again. And let's just see how it goes, guys. Let's pray that my knee gets better, because if I have to have surgery on this thing, that's going to knock us down even further. But anyway.
But that's our plans.
That's our plans.
We don't make New Year's resolutions.
Nope.
We just have plans. And if they don't happen in 2022, like in 2021, I hope to get the cabin finished. It didn't happen. So now it's moved to 2022. And if it don't happen in 2022 and we're still alive,
do it in 2023.
We'll try for 2023. Danny and I talked, and this was one of the things is we're now preparing day to day, and we have our long-term goals. Like these are things that we want to get done if it's in our ability.
If we can.
But from this point forward, we're going to be living day to day. I will mention this. I have people contact me all the time about coming to visit, and we schedule in very, very few people now. Coming now.
Very few.
And it'll be person to person, and it will be situation to situation because it'll be according to what we have going on. It will be according to how the virus is around us. Right now, it's pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
And so I wouldn't want to bring anybody in, and possibly if Danny and I'd run into town and we were exposed and expose somebody else and send it somewhere else, or if somebody comes in, then they were around family that had it and they bring it here and then they get sick the next week, then we're exposed. It's kind of one of those, let's kind of wait and see, because there's 2 or 3 counties around us that it's really bad right now. And these people are pretty sick. It's not the, I just feel bad virus. It's the one that makes you sick.
Yeah.
And so we will schedule people in occasionally, and it's not going to be a whole lot this next year. And we apologize for that in advance because that's just going to be the way it is.
It is what it is.
And, we're just going to do what we got to do for 2022.
Yeah. So, guys, we're going to cut this off. It's we done been going close to an hour now. So, we just wanted to share with y'all some of our thoughts for 2022. I believe it can be a good year. I believe the only way it's going to be a good year is if we've made preparation for it to be a good year. Mm-hmm. You know, I did a podcast the other day talking about 2022, and like Wanda mentioned, we don't really do resolutions and stuff like that, New Year's resolutions. But if I did one, it would be simply that I want to be closer to the Lord. I mean, that's literally would be my New Year's resolution. And I want to let you guys know before we get off that I do pray for all of y'all on a daily basis. A lot of y'all send special requests and stuff like that, and I do try to remember as many of them as I can, and I do believe in the power of prayer. And at the same time, I also covet your prayers for me and Wanda. Wanda's having problems with her hip. I've got my knee messed up. We do covet prayers from y'all as well as us praying for you. We want you to pray for us.
Yes, and we had several that, like Miss Starla, her husband.
Her husband passed away. Yeah.
No,
that wasn't Miss Starla. Who was that? Somebody sent us a message, told us her husband passed away.
Miss Starla's was in a truck.
Oh, he was in the accident with the 18-wheeler. Yes.
And we want to remember him. And then we have had those that have asked, lost loved ones, friends, family, different circumstances, not necessarily virus.
A lot of them getting the virus again, you know. I mean,
right now it's different things.
Yeah.
And so we want to remember those. We want to remember our families and all of you guys. And so I think we'll end in prayer tonight. And we hope that you enjoyed this. The weather, y'all pray for us, because as this is going on tonight, the weather could be bad or it could be bad tomorrow. It's a wait and see. You watch the weather, and 1 minute it looks like it's going to be starting at this time, and the next time they've moved it a little one way or the other. So we're not taking any chances tonight. We just went ahead and filmed, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Father, we come to you tonight. We just want to take this opportunity to thank you for each and every one. Lord, all of the prayer requests that's in the chat tonight, Father, we just want to lift them, each and every one, up before you and ask that you will answer them, Father, and do it in a way that will glorify you and bless the person also, Father. And for those that have lost loved ones during this time, holiday season, I lost a brother right a couple of days before Christmas, and all the others, Lord, that have lost loved ones or had loved ones that's been in automobile accidents or other types of accidents, Lord, I want to pray that you grant peace and harmony, clarity of mind, and whatever it takes for people to get beyond these times. I mean, there's a void in people's lives now because it's like there's a hole there. And Father, I ask that you fill that hole and help them to be able to get beyond where they're at and realize that one day we're all going to be reunited if we all know the Lord now. And Father, I thank you for the people we have in our chat tonight, because many of them I know are born-again believers, and there's going to come that day that I actually look forward to. I may never get to see them on this side of heaven, but when we get to heaven, we're going to all sit down by that river, and we're going to have a giant porch time, and I look forward to that. And I'm excitedly waiting for those days to come now. And Lord, thank you once again for loving us and for caring for us. And I pray that 2022, Father, can be a great year for us. Even though the wicked has many things laid aside, I pray that your righteous will be delivered from them all, Father. We ask these things in thy name. Amen. Okay, guys, we just wanted to take this time. We knew the weather was going to be bad, like Ms. Wanda said, and we wanted to actually film this premiere for you, because we didn't want to leave you hanging out there, because some of y'all not going to have any bad weather, and you'll still be able to see the live stream. And then there are those that it will be bad, and they'll be wondering what they're going to do.
And they will get to see it tomorrow, just like always. And y'all, we're just playing around with the mics and stuff right now. Danny likes this setup.
I love this setup.
I'm not sure. I still not.
I like the clarity of it. Our voices are clear. There's no buffering. There's none of this kind of stuff. It's just good, clear. I hear it in my ears, and I hear you in my ears fine. I hear everything minutely. I mean, to me, it's nice.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to get used to it. I'm not going to say this is going to be all the time, but when we have to do premieres, if we do a premiere because of weather, then this will probably be the way we do it this year.
Yeah. So, guys, we love you, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you when the weather clears or in another video. So thank y'all from Deep South Homestead.